Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Baba Gale Jallo and Usaino Allen from Texas are talking to us about the Public Order Act. Thank you so much. So Dr. Baba Gale Jallo and we would like to welcome them, and then by way of introduction, Dr. Baba Gale Jallo, can you tell us what your take is regarding the piece that you wrote on the issue of the Public Order Act and the open letter you wrote to President Barrow about him to release the youths who protested recently about tariff at Pura?
Well, thank you, Ebrima. I think what inspired me was to help the Gambia prevent, further crisis. I think, like we said earlier, if there are these kinds of issues, and then there is an arrest by police, and then there is more reaction from the people, it could spiral into something bigger, into a crisis. And I thought that perhaps, sending out an open letter to ask the president to intervene and help stop the crisis at this point would be a good idea. So that's essentially it, my concern for the Gambia, and my knowledge that sometimes these things could spiral out of control. That was my motivation. So that's essentially it, my concern for the Gambia, and my knowledge that sometimes these things could spiral out of control. That was my motivation.
Okay, Usaino, what is your take on the Public Order Act? A lot of people see this as a tool to suppress dissent. This started since the colonial era down to our present dispensation. On the Public Order Act.
Thank you, Ebrima. Just like most of our institutions and the laws that we inherited from the colonial powers, the Public Order Act lines up amongst a whole long list of things that we need to look into in our effort to decolonize our governance system. We're a Republican nation, and issues like stifling dissent by those tasked with overseeing our affairs need to be revised in the day and age that we live in. If we were living in a monarchy, one could understand the way monarchies are expected to operate. But within a Republican system, there's a system that needs to be in place where people need to be given that avenue to express their dissatisfaction in the way the government administers their affairs, especially in issues that has a direct impact in their day-to-day living. The Public Order Act needs to be revised, but it needs to be done in a broader criminal justice reform system, as well as a judicial review. We need to review our legal system, our criminal justice system, because a nation that is based on legal gray areas is bound to be a nation of litigation, a nation of uncertainty. So we need reform, serious reform. I think it's one of the 2 or 3 most important reforms we need to do. Is we need to reform our legal system. We need to reform our criminal justice system so that we will have a just society, that everybody can thrive regardless of your age bracket, whether you are Gambian or non-Gambian. Most of these problems stem from a weak legal system and a very lopsided criminal justice system. Most of these problems stem from.
So, Baba, moving forward, the Public Order Act has been something, like I said to Usaino, used as a tool to suppress the masses. this started from the colonial era down to President Barrow. Moving forward, what is your perspective on the ways of making sure that the public, can protest legally, on issues that matter to them?
Yeah, that's right. And that's what makes the Public Order Act problematic. Like it was passed in 1961, and not only in the Gambia. Ghana has a Public Ordnance Act, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, the British West African countries all have them. And what should have happened from the beginning of independence is that these laws are repealed and replaced with democracy-enhancing laws. That hasn't happened. So now, what I think should happen is that, like Hussein said, there should be a review of the law. I think that the law is not suitable for a democratic space. I think rather than seek permission from the police in order to stage a peaceful protest, the police should just need to be informed, notified that we are holding a protest on this day. We want to notify you. Could you please send officers to come and help secure the area and make sure there is no disturbance? I think that would be the way forward. You can leave that element in the law, but the act of demanding that protesters seek a permit, it's a colonial legacy. It was used by the Tubabs, by the white people to control and manage protest against the colonial system. And I think it has no place in our current legal system. So the way forward for me would be to revise the law, repeal the law, and then replace the requirement for permits with the requirement for notification. And once the police are notified, it would be then incumbent upon them to send out officers to go and make sure the security is maintained. I think that would be the right thing to do. And once the police are notified,
Usainu, government might use this Public Order Act to, stay afloat, like to make sure that there's a means of control, so that what happened to the likes of Tunisian president, Ben Ali, Libya, Hosni Mubarak, and even next door neighbor, Senegal, there's been a lot of uprisings or mass protestation in Senegal before the fall of Macky Sall. What do you think about, the government's methodology in this sense?
The government, what they need to do is to proactively engage the youths, because we have our resources. We know that our resources are valuable to the country, and we will not do what will make the resources lose value. Otherwise, they might affect our economy. But the greatest resource our country has is the youths, and we need to proactively engage them. So we need to also be cognizant of things that trigger the youths into reacting. And usually reaction of youths, if not guided, might spiral out of control, as we've seen in many situations. But it's not done. It's not done because they don't have control over themselves. They have genuine feelings of day-to-day lives. There are high expectations on them, because the whole nation now realizes that almost 70% of the nation is composed of the youths. And the youths realize that the progress of this nation lies in a major part on their shoulders. So that realization has pushed the youths to expect to be given agency within our within the Gambia, whether it is through governance or even empower them to thrive outside of the central government or in the private space. But the lack of empowerment, the lack of agency being given to the youths, leads the youths to also start feeling some form of resentment to the establishment. And that resentment also, if it's not understood maturely by the establishment, it might be reciprocated on their part, and you have a very tense atmosphere where It's just a matter of, it can be data today, it can be land issue tomorrow, it can be mistakenly killing one protester, and that can spark something that might not be easily controlled in the future. So proactively engaging the youths, proactively thinking. I mean, we have people with experience in how to govern, in experience in how to engage the youths, experience in how to really think how the youths can be given that empowerment that is needed. And the youths are not only crying for themselves, they're crying for the average Gambian. So those that came out to protest against data are not protesting for data only for the youth. They're protesting for data for all Gambians, including those that were even arresting them. So we need to also understand from their perspective where they're coming from. And if they want to pursue a very disciplined society, like we said earlier, we need that criminal justice reform where the police will be trained, given adequate training, so that if some of these protests end up being hijacked by people who have ill intentions, the police can manage the situation in a non-lethal way, and we'll have a more just society.
Dr. Baba, your article was a wake-up call, or is a wake-up call for the present government. The fact that you serve as a TRRC executive secretary with all the testimony that we are given, what does it tell you about the present dispensation, knowing what happened in the, especially the Jame era in focus?
Well, yes, we had a lot of horrible stories, stories of human rights violations, stories of, the suppression of dissent and so on and so forth. And those stories are not meant to just be heard. They are meant to be learned and they are meant to be lived. And I think that the current dispensation, as far as the freedom of expression is concerned, is doing well, fairly well. In the media, you see articles in the media that could not have been published during the Jame days. You see things happening that could not have been done during the Jame days. And I think there's an improvement. There is a visible growth in the democratic culture of the country. But that is no reason to stop. I think that we should be striving on a day-to-day basis to improve the democratic dispensation, to grow the democratic culture, to ensure that people enjoy more rights in a responsible manner. No one is calling for irresponsible behavior. Now, if the youths were out there throwing stones and breaking things and they are arrested, you wouldn't hear me writing an open letter. But what I saw was a peaceful protest that was then met with the command or an accusation of unlawful assembly and continued, followed on by arrest. I think that is not a wise thing for the government to do. I think the government has made some democratic gains thanks to the struggles of the people, among whom are the government. The government is part of the people. Without the people, there cannot be a government. So there are democratic gains right now that we have in the Gambia. No one can demand that. No one can deny that. At the same time, we should not rest on our laurels and say, oh, it's a democracy. We have democracy. No, we just have a growing democracy. And I would urge the government, the president in particular, to build upon that democratic foundation that we already have laid in order to have greater democracy, greater peace, and greater respect for the rule of law, and greater growth for the country. I think that would be what I would say. We have made some progress, but that's not enough. We still have a lot of room to grow. And removing laws like the Public Order Act would contribute a lot to the growth and the widening of the democratic space in the Gambia.
Usainu, what is your final word on this Public Order Act with regard to the way things are going? First of all, the gala was constituted, in the aftermath of the way the former president's assets were confiscated and subsequently sold. Now, we've seen Gala protesting about tariff, to Pura. Who knows what's going to happen next?
I think the like we said earlier, there was some interview we mentioned that the Gambia had an opportunity, and I think Dr. mentioned it now, that when we were given independence, we should have at least tried to amend these types of laws that are not compatible to the Gambia that we want. These are critical junctures that you cannot allow to pass without making what is necessary for Gambia to move forward and become competitive in a very competitive world. We had a critical juncture during the 2016 regime change that the coalition partners promised to undo certain laws, including this Public Order Act. It was, I think, I wrote it down here, a bill in 2019, it was introduced, the amendment bill of the Public Order Act, so that it can replace the discretionary police permit system with a less restrictive requirement of providing a written notice to the Inspector General of Police. Mm-hmm. But it was withdrawn before it could fully be debated on or voted on. And these are hallmarks of an extractive society. Extractive nature is a colonial legacy that has also continued to date. And we need more inclusive institutions, inclusive in the sense that whatever we are doing, regardless of how much it affects our personal self as legislators or governors, we do it in the interest of the people that we are governing over. And it shouldn't have been withdrawn. It should have been given the chance to be debated upon, so that at least Gambians can hear the merits of the bill or what's being debated, and people will give their opinions. And they could have had, by now, it's been what, 6 years since or 5 years since, they could have had a better law, and maybe we would have avoided situations like this. So it's not late. We can reintroduce it so that it can be debated and repealed or amended to something that's more compatible with our times.
Finally, Baba, what is your take on the way forward with regard to protests? Certainly, this wouldn't be the last protest, even if though the matter is in court, but there may be other issues that might compel the youth to come out.
Well, democratic societies cannot get rid of protest. Protest will happen. People will see things they don't like. They will see things against which they decide to come out and protest peacefully. I think as long as the protests are peaceful, there is no need to call it unlawful assembly. There is no need to come forward and say you have to disperse, that is the order. I think what should happen now is just what Usaini just said. We introduced the bill to amend the Public Order Act, amend it in such a way that the government will retain a certain degree of control that is necessary to maintain law and order. No one's like lawlessness. I certainly don't like lawlessness. Mm-hmm. No one wants the country to slide into chaos, into anarchy. We don't want that, So, but at the same time, we have to understand that democracy is messy. It's not going to be a smooth ride for any government that comes to power. People are likely to come forward and express their frustrations, but let it be done in an orderly manner. And so long as it's done in an orderly manner, it is incumbent upon the government and the police in particular to make sure that they provide the security. In the absence of the introduction of that amendment bill, I think the police can still decide that if there is a peaceful protest, news of a peaceful protest, the best thing to do would be to go out there and provide security. Because a bad law is a bad law. There is no way about that. And we know that the Public Order Act is a colonial relic. It was passed by the colonial authorities for purposes of control and for the fear of crowds. That was the purpose. In an independent African country like the Gambia, The Public Order Act should not exist. People should not be denied their right to express themselves. It's an expression. It's a freedom of expression. Protesting is a form of expression. So if they cannot deny that right, then they should have a way of managing the situation in such a way that it is done in an orderly manner, that unlawful acts are not committed, and that people are not arrested at the same time or harmed. That would be what I would say. Reintroduce the bill to the National Assembly, try to see how best to amend the law to make it capable of maintaining law and order without clamping down on the rights of peaceful protesters.
On that note, thank you so much, gentlemen, for this specially constituted panel to talk about the Public Order Act. We wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ivan. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you.